Recording in progress. Welcome to Conversations with Calvin, We the Species. This is a special session with Matthew Hazen, who is the founder of Human Consciousness Support, a company that produces MasterPeace, which is a supplement. He's going to talk about that. My disclaimer is this is an interview of Matthew Hazen because he's a fascinating, interesting, an amazing guy, and I've been learning all about him, and we've been chatting here for almost an hour just to kind of get acquainted. Disclaimer is this is just a wonderful interview into a very dynamic, charismatic, caring person, and it will kind of segue into MasterPeace, this supplement that removes toxins and bad stuff from us. He's going to talk all about that. But I want to learn. We want to learn more about Matthew Hazen, Kansas guy, and I'm a big fan of Dorothy Gale. That girl who got swept up by the
Wizard of Oz.
That's right. That's right. I call her by her name because I know the Gale family. I'm teasing. So I'm a big fan of Kansas because of Dorothy Gale, and that's even better that you're here, Matthew. But this is this is I think an interview of enlightenment, and I think we'll have a lot of fun doing this. I've got my notes, and of course the thing that attracted me to Matthew is my health journey. We're going to talk about so many different aspects, consciousness, which fascinates me, human consciousness, and we'll talk about that. And then there's a chart. I mean, it's like my head is swimming. There's so much stuff I want to talk to Matthew about. But anyway, so this is my monologue. This is going to be fun, just to kind of learn about Matthew's work and learn about life in Kansas. I'm teasing. So my monologue is officially concluded. This was my Johnny Carson monologue. You remember him, I guess.
I do.
Sure.
I
Okay.
do.
Okay. So Matthew, why don't you take it away? Do a little disclaimer, do a little
Yes.
background bio of yourself. Take it away.
Sure. Thank you so much, Calvin, for providing a platform for the truth for so many people. So, yeah, before we get started, anything I go over today, I'm a very health conscious person. I'm CEO and founder of a company that produces a really amazing product, and we'll kind of go over the results that we've gotten from the studies of that. But I'm not a medical doctor. I don't tout myself as one. I don't have any labels. I'm a very self-taught person. I'm not a doctor that's been indoctrinated into the system and into that belief system, which I don't feel is necessarily helping our population. It seems like the population's health is far worse than it's ever been today. And people listening to indoctrinated doctors is getting them worse health, more pills, worse health. And so I'm not a doctor's professional. If for any reason you feel like you have, so I'm not providing any medical advice on any level. Just want to be very clear with that. So I'm a highly curious guy. I've always been into health. A long time ago, at the very beginning, I was doing yoga when other people were just lifting weights and stuff. And I've always questioned everything. I think that's real healthy for people, not to just believe the next person that says something. So I've always questioned everything my own parents told me and said to me. And I think that's kind of led me into a good long life of having to great experiences and getting to learn a lot. I'm definitely huge into learning knowledge and actual truth in things. And so about 4 years ago, I was sitting there with my beautiful, perfect, adorable family, and I was looking around, and I would see all these people with all these unique, great lifestyle and diet habits and ways of living. And I was thinking to myself, whatever needs to be here, whatever should, whatever solution to be here to help people or whatever, it obviously wasn't here. There was no set thing out there that was helping people in the way that our population needed. It looked like everybody's health was declining. And so I had the inspiration. I started getting into heavy metal detox products and cleansing and holistic medicine, alternative medicine, those kind of things. And I thought I can make something. And so I had a good friend of mine who's my assistant now, one of them, and he was right there, always willing to research with me and look things up and help the process. And it became a labor of love. Ended up working side by side and actually becoming mentored by a gentleman who was the chief scientific officer for Kansas State University. He was the founder of Forest Nano Labs and had 3 nano labs. And he was used to working for big research and development for billion-dollar corporations. That's all he really did is equipment and work for. And he listened to my mission, where I wanted to make something that was going to clean the forever chemicals and these pollutants. A lot of people out there don't realize that when the Industrial Revolution started, and we started having these petroleum type engines with combustible fumes and exhaust fumes, and all of a sudden when we as a society started taking nature and the natural ecosystem and the natural environmental processes where everything is healthy and works in harmony, and that's God's creation. And so when we started taking that creation that worked great, and then we started making our machines and making our things and having the Industrial Revolution, we started making things that couldn't be degraded or decomposed or broken down in the environment or in the living organisms such as us. And those things are called forever chemicals. So a lot of people have heard that term, and that can be heavy metals. Of course, we hear about microplastics. We hear about BPAs, right? PFOs, PFLA, all these little letters, and those things don't ever go. They're called forever chemicals because they never leave. They're not called 30-year chemicals or 50-year chemicals. They're forever chemicals. So we are living on a planet where we are accumulating all those things. And as they increase, our health and the world's health is getting worse and worse. And so learning how to get those things out of our bodies so that we can think clear. Calvin, when I was young, I'm 44 now. When I was young, actually, I'll be 45 in 2 days. When, we had like 1 or 2 kids in school out of like 1,200 kids that were challenged, it was not very many now. And now 1 out of 7 boys in America will be diagnosed with autism before they're 2 years old. Let that sink in. It was even less when you were young. Things like schizophrenia. In the 1920s, they didn't have words for these things. It wasn't because people were walking around schizophrenic and we just hadn't thought of a word for it. It's because it didn't exist. These things didn't exist. People didn't die of cancer in 1900. Cancer didn't exist. If you look back in these indigenous tribes and all these, indigenous people, Native Americans, they didn't have a word for cancer in their language because it didn't exist. They didn't have words for this dementia and stuff. If people can turn 65 nowadays and still have their mind about them, they are doing something right. And people should probably figure out what they're doing, because it's very hard in your case to be 79 and still have your bearings the way you do. That means, hey, we should maybe listen to Calvin. He might know something that's worth listening to. And so I seen the reality of forever chemicals and what it was doing to all living organisms. And so we had made a quest in a mission to come up with something that was actually going to successfully, irrefutably, undeniably remove it and remediate it and lower the levels of forever chemicals out of our minds, out of our cells, out of our bodies. And that's what we've proven with our studies. And, it's really worth talking about.
Wow. Yeah, you said such fascinating things. We just didn't have these these things in our world back then, who knew from these things? I grew up and I never heard the word autism and stuff like that. And I mean, I never heard that. And yeah, I've been pretty health conscious. That was part of the magnet that drew me to you. I've been pretty health conscious, and that's why I'm functioning at a real high level. Because in 1969, I started out on this journey to be healthy. I haven't eaten red meat, by the way, since 1975. Red meat, anything with four legs, kind of a humanitarian health thing to do, environmental, the methane and stuff, and I think that contributes. Anyway, so your journey. By the way, how would you define what is a healthy person to you?
I think it all begins with your emotional state of being, how you interact, and what you think your life is right now. If you're the kind of person that never has energy, never lives in the moment, um, is lets negative emotions run their thinking and their lives, then your emotional state of being, your emotional well-being, which I think it kind of sets what's the most important to present, uh, so if you're on a bunch of mental medication, you don't even know if it's working or not, and all that stuff, I would say you're probably not a very healthy person. And it seeps over to the physical as well. Now, you know, so I believe health is more of should be looked at with a holistic perspective, mind, body, and spirit. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
yeah.
um,
Not how much you bench press.
okay.
Right. Right.
I like the holistic, the whole package.
Yeah.
It's important, and I've been pursuing that for a long time, the holistic approach. In my supplementation.
Do you think that if someone is a very conscious person, they go in the rooms, they have a good air about them, people like conversating with them, they don't try to get away from them, they positively affect their pets, their kids, grandkids, the community, everybody they go across? I would say that person is a healthy person. They're operating they're doing good, you
Okay.
know.
By the way, you said an interesting word, and if we can, uh, if you can define what is consciousness, because in my reading about you, somewhere along the line you said something about uh, David Hawkins, a map of consciousness,
Yeah.
which I printed out. And yesterday I mentioned this to you before we went on air. I did an hour and a half session with a spiritual healer and clairvoyant to talk about my consciousness. So, how would you define what is consciousness to you?
I would say your consciousness is very much directed in correlation and parallel with your emotional state of being. So when you're looking at the science of consciousness, which I know a lot of people out there are ignorant to what that is, but it is as irrefutable and as uh, locked in, ironclad of a science as any science out there. Now, it's like anything else, we have to learn about it first. And it has a lot to do with your body's going to process things, your mind's going to process things. Everything is going to stem from your present emotional state of being. So if I'm feeling shame for something that happened in the past or this, I'm operating on a very low level. I'm going to be perceiving life, things, everything from a low emotional thought processing type of situation. So with your emotions and your thoughts in sync, your heart brain harmonization, I guess you could say. If you're Joe Dispenza kind of person or Greg Braden kind of person or Bruce, what was it, Lipton, those kind of guys, they're into that stuff real big. That's a good way to kind of compare it to. But consciousness is everything. And people, we're living lives where so many people don't even stop to care or to learn about some of these things. And it's a shame because they find themselves in such distraction mode, so busy with life, anxiety driven from worrying about bills and different things like that, or the health of them or their family, that they can't even begin to start tapping into their spiritual and their consciousness, which is critical to our growth. We're supposed to evolve consciously and spiritually. We're not supposed to just go to work from 9 to 5 our whole life and then retire and die a few years later. It's supposed to be more than that.
Matthew, you mentioned microplastics, and I've been very environmentally attuned. I went to the first Earth Day, April 22nd, 1970. I don't think you were even here then.
Nope.
No, you weren't.
79.
Okay, so I went to the first Earth Day. I was young, and I've never been the same in thinking since April 22nd, 1970. I have a little environmental group. We're like a little think tank. We like to talk and think about things. But you said microplastics, and I just read, and this is almost a comedy routine, perversely. But I just read that there are traces of microplastics in breast milk, human breast milk. They just
Easily.
found that. Yep. So that's number one. Number two,
Because it's in the human body, it's in every single human body on Earth.
yeah,
You can't test someone for microplastics, polyethylene, polypropylene, any type of PFOAs, any of those things. All I believe there's about 4,500, 4,700 categories of microplastics, forever chemicals, and they're in every single living organism out there. And so, yeah, it's going to definitely express out the breast milk, unfortunately.
scary stuff. And then like a couple weeks later, I read that all the plastic bottles of water that we drink is filled with thousands and thousands of microplastics. So when I read that, I said no more bottled water for me. We have a filtered thing here, so I ordered a thing online, a big a water bottle online. And here's the comedy element. So I ordered the thing, and then literally the next day, I read that you're starting to smile. I read that these water bottles that I filled my purified water with is leaking lead. So I took a make-believe gun like Archie Bunker used to do, and I put it to my head, and I cocked it, and I shot myself because it really is a comedy routine. I mean, I'm trying to do the right thing, but so I'm leading up to MasterPeace.
Just for everybody, just so that they can know, Calvin, if it's okay. Yes, what you're saying is absolutely correct. Now, for anyone out there that truly understands, you're 99% water molecules and 90%, so we're about 70 to 80% water weight, our bodies. But water is a very light molecule. So if you actually we have trillions of cells, but we have billions of molecules inside of each cell. We are 99% water molecules. Now the other 1%, 90% of that is minerals. So we're basically like the ocean water. Our extracellular fluids, which is your blood and your interstitial fluid, which makes up about 27 liters of the 40 liters that makes up a 155-pound person. You are basically identical molecularly to the ocean. So how do people get clean water in the world? And this is the answer. This is important. You need a good distilled water machine or a reverse osmosis water machine that will simply clean out everything in the water, also the minerals though, and you need the minerals. So then you want to get a good mineral supplement like Celtic salt. There's a whole lot of them, green salt. There's a lot of different types of salt, and you just want to remineralize your reverse osmosis or distilled water. That's the way to get clean water that's free of microplastics and everything else, but will also be healthy. Because just pouring in reverse osmosis water or distilled water with no minerals, it will actually leach your minerals in your body. People don't understand that because it wants to take on the minerals. You're talking about magnetic charges, negative with the water, positive with the minerals. It's going to combine. And so you don't want to pull what minerals you do have in your body. So that's the way that people can hydrate themselves correctly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just felt that's important. It's good to give solutions. I like solutions for people, you know.
That is important, and I thought I was doing the right thing. We got a water filter, a whole big system, and now listening to you, I realize that I'm not getting, you know, magnesium and some of the minerals. So you're a wise guy, and meaning smart guy, not wise guy. I have to clarify that. And these are things you don't think about. So we got bad heavy metals and forever chemicals, and that was the impetus for you to think about MasterPeace.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and the levels are getting higher. So I have to look at thousands of air quality tests. I have to look at, I have hundreds and hundreds of soil sample tests that are from organic farm fields. When you take a look at water quality, whether you're talking about well water, spring water, rainwater, it's all laden with this stuff because our land, air, water, our ecosystem, our environment is there. It's microscopic. Until human beings can live without breathing, 90% of it you're getting in with your breath. Yes, you're ingesting food and water that's contaminated too. But the real reason why our kids are overweight, our kids don't know how to think, why 25-year-olds you can't even have a good conversation with without them just being gone, why the emotional state of being, the consciousness levels of everybody is falling off a cliff, it looks like, is because we're getting to a tipping point and a cusp point without me having to explain it, where it's too much pollutions in our body's normal systems of being able to get some of it out is being overwhelmed. Our systems are too constipated. It's not just our lymphatic system. It's not just our GI tract. It's our entire bodies. And we had to think and look at where this is what I did. I thought to myself, okay, we're basically molecularly identical to the ocean water. So then I said, okay, where in the ocean is the cleanest water? And the cleanest water is where they have this thing called zeolite. Zeolite is when lava goes into the ocean water. It's 2,000-degree lava, goes into the cold ocean water. This amazing process happens. And what does zeolite do better than anything else in the world? It's called the master binder, where they've done over 8,000 studies on PubMed proving it. It effectively binds and traps to toxins, forever chemicals, anything that's biohazardous and unnatural and impure. It holds in and sticks to it. And so you have if you're going to go measure, most of the world is the ocean, right? And so everything that's alive inside of the ocean, the fish, the whales, everything else, they're all pooping and peeing in the same water, eating and everything else. So it's all a big smorgasbord. And so you say, where's the cleanest ocean in terms of the levels of microplastics, heavy metals, and these forever chemicals? Well, it's in zeolite beds, where zeolite is at. And then you say, well, what is that's the cleanest. Where's the healthiest part of the ocean? And it's in these really amazing places where you have what's called wind and wave currents, which go this way on the ocean, wind and waves. And then and those are horizontal. And then you have vertical currents, which are called density currents. And that's all to do with density and temperature. And when they line up perfect, they make this big kind of donut toroidal field, which looks identical to the human biofield, if anybody's ever seen that. And so when it does that, it's doing this really amazing process, which is called structuring. And so it structures the ocean water. And then as long as it lines up where this pretty thing I'm talking about happens above phytoplankton and zooplankton, which are the building blocks of life, then all of a sudden you get the healthiest minerals that are being structured inside of there. And so when you actually take marine plasma and then we take zeolite, we make the zeolite. Now, this is a really important thing for anybody. If they want to understand how to detox and clean out their bodies safely, effectively, and extremely gently, their ears should perk up, because sometimes people think of detoxing as uncomfortable, and you don't have to heal. You don't have to hurt to heal. That's not the way it works when things are done the right way. What we end up getting is we get something. Now, zeolite is 100% indigestible to the human body. So when you take it in, it doesn't stay there. It binds to things that you don't want in your body, and then you get it out of your body in 4 to 6 hours through your breath, through your defecation, urination, if you're a woman, menstruation, perspiration, the four outlets for guys and the 5 outlets for women. They have an extra one. That's why women actually live longer. They get to detox every month when they're menstruating. So that's a big reason. So what we end up getting is the zeolite down to such a small size, which they call a nano size. So oh, this is a nanotechnology. Well, nanotechnology means something's in a nanometer size, which means it's so small that it's small enough to go through your cell membrane. As long as the charge is correct, that's a different story, though. That'd take too long to explain. So we get the zeolite, which is the master binder, the thing that has been proven over and over and over again to bind to magnetically find, bind, trap, and then escort out the things you don't want in your body that are disrupting how your body feels, thinks, works. You're a bioelectrical thing. And when you have plastics and metals in you, guess how good an electrical system works? Not very good. So when we get the zeolite down to a nano size and we make it with the marine plasma, and we have this trademarked and it'll be copyrighted very soon. And it's an amazing process, but we are the lab results, the clinical trial results are so profound and astounding that it's impossible not to feel a lot of hope. And we're going to continue to challenge the product because we're not interested. I haven't spent $1 on marketing. We're only 8 months old. We don't waste time figuring out how to sell something. We let the proof and the facts and the evidence, people's testimonials of their kids and their grandparents. We have people now, their testimonials are their claims. But what MasterPeace is being claimed to do is take people who have been in retirement homes for years, that have lost their bearings a long time ago, and they start taking MasterPeace. We've had 2 of these, and they can't stand to be in a retirement home anymore because they're thinking too clear. They don't want nothing to do with being there. They leave. Their family's got to take them back in. You know, you got kids that with severe neurological, they're somewhere on the spectrum, right? That's the new word in the last decade. Now we got a spectrum, you know. Seems like 2/3 of our kids are on the spectrum somewhere on the crazy board. So freaking wrong the way they done this. And they are sleeping better, feeling better, calmer, interacting with people, making wiser decisions all of a sudden. And the fact of the matter is, we're not sick. We've been poisoned. The human population is not sick. We have all these poisons. It's not just one person's fault or some place's fault. It's not a conspiracy theory thing. It's been going on since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Okay, I'm not saying there's not a nefarious attachment to it possibly or anything. What I'm saying is the microplastics, that's not nefarious, and they're just as disruptive. Yeah. So
Wow. So that's what MasterPeace does. These are nano particles in a solution, and
nano zeolite. Yep.
Yeah,
Nanometer size zeolite that is less than 100 nanometers, and all that means is it's small enough to pass through your, what if there is a blood-brain barrier, that's a whole discussion itself, but every single thing in your body, including your cell walls. Because guess what? You're poisoned, you're contaminated inside of your cells and outside of your cells. You know, it's not just a inside the body thing. It's got a, so yes. And then it replenishes it, marine plasma, just so that you know, every single mineral, no matter every mineral that's in your body that you're supposed to have in your body, marine plasma has in it.
Wow.
The only difference is it is so small. I'm going to show you how small it is. Watch this, everybody. You guys are going to really like this. It's really worth learning about this, because then you'll know how to take care of yourself. We live in a day and age where we need to be able to do that. We've all heard of an electron microscope. Okay. So no other health supplement company has ever done this. We actually have this is a picture of MasterPeace behind me. If you see, now this is at 100,000 magnifications. Most universities don't even have an electron microscope, okay? So we're looking at something that is 1 nanometer small, which is thousands and thousands of times smaller than a cell in your body.
Wow.
This is thousands of times smaller than a cell. This is the zeolite. See the thing that's a hexagon shape? Do you see how they all are spaced out about the same from each other?
Uh-huh.
The reason why they are so small, but they are spaced out the right, is because they all have the exact same magnetic charge. So they're negatively charged, like a magnet, like a regular old magnet. Now, do you see all that goop that is attaching to it? The goop? Those are minerals. The whole thing, now they're positively charged and they keep the zeolite close to each other. But whenever the zeolite finds a bad guy, right? You can imagine when this thing goes boom and traps up against a positively charged bad guy. See the marine plasma minerals right here? That's all looks like goop because they are so small. You've probably never even heard of this. It's called a picometer. A picometer is 1,000,000 times smaller than a nanometer.
Wow.
You're talking about the most leading edge technology on earth it takes to be able to see this stuff. So when we're talking about how well things digest and absorb, and you can take it, metabolize into your body, see, when you're taking supplements, you care about how well they actually get into you, right? So when you have them this small, which is at a picometer range, your minerals, every mineral that every single supplement company out there has is in marine plasma. Marine plasma has them all.
Wow.
It has every single element in the periodic chart that's in your body right now. It has every single essential fatty acid, your antioxidants, unmodified, unchanged, unmodified RNA. You're talking about everything that's in the ocean. So whenever these bad guys latch on to these good guys latch onto the bad guys, sorry, and then it begins to move away out of your body, it's replaced with the most bioavailable, nutrient-rich substance known on Earth today by all science, by everybody. Anyone that knows anything knows that the most bioavailable, because this is picometer. Nobody's supplements are pico. They're micrometer. They're micronized. Micronized is like 5 million times bigger than this. That just means you can't see each particle with the eye. That's not very small in terms of this. So yeah, we're moving into a world where your health is your wealth. We all know nobody cares about how much money's in their bank account if their loved one or if their health is bad, because you're not taking it with you anyways. And so how well you feel is where it's at. And we are in a poison-filled fishbowl of toxins. Our planet is a fishbowl. So we have to ingest it. And so you have to learn how to get it out of your body faster than it's coming in. And we've proven how to do that.
And
At least with our test subjects so far.
and that's what MasterPeace looks like.
Yep. It's real simple.
Yep.
It tastes good too. You know what? It takes 10 drops a day because this stuff is made so thick and so chocked full because it was made to help humanity. It wasn't made so I could get rich or so someone else could get rich. I live in a camper. I drive a 12-year-old minivan with a salvage title because I don't care about that stuff. I care that my kids love me and my wife adores me. I have it all. I have all the things that matter. If people do this, switch it around. They just got all the supplement stuff that they need if they are in the supplements or any of that kind of stuff. I can't really say that. This is a detoxification support. This supports the detoxification process in your body. But what we virtually hear across the board from the 15,000 families that are now taking MasterPeace, what you will hear virtually every time is that they claim, now we never know if they're taking something else or something like that, but if you start dreaming and you haven't dreamed in decades, that means your third eye or your pineal gland is operating. It means you're not third eye blind anymore. You know, our pineal gland, when it has fluoride on it and different things, it doesn't work anymore. So you don't dream anymore. So when you dreamed as a young kid all the time, but then you stop dreaming. So people claim virtually every time that they're dreaming again. That means they're getting the poison off of their pineal gland, which is where your spine happens to touch your brain. Your pineal gland's right there. It looks like a pine cone. It's the size of a pea. People start sleeping better than they've ever slept before, usually. So your sleep is very important to how good you feel during the day. When you get rock great sleep, if you get sleep where you fall asleep, you're dreaming like a highlight reel, you wake up and you wake up easier and you feel rested, guess what? You have a better day. So if you're able to start your day, you're being able to keep your mental clarity on a level that's undeniable. You know, you are feeling better. Your consciousness goes up. You're living a better life. Everything works better, goes better for you. You talk to the person who's sacking up your groceries better than you normally would. You interact with people more than you would. You have a natural energy level, which is lost in our population right now, if you think about it. You know, so that's it's an amazing time. This is a product that we're very proud to lead, steward, and usher out to humanity, to our fellow man and woman. It is made very low cost. It lasts almost 60 days a bottle. A bottle costs people $53. We don't charge sales tax. I'm not a sales boy. The government doesn't pay me to collect their taxes, so I don't collect taxes on sales tax. So that's the way we're set up. You know, people can, you know, and they have nothing to lose. There's no side effects. Doesn't even taste bad. Take it by itself. It's really amazing.
And younger members of our society take this, like kids?
Yeah, my kids drown themselves in it. I can't leave my bottles around. My kids have never had short because if they can open them, then they guzzle the whole thing. That's all they do. Yeah. There's no such thing as taking too much or anything like that. You know, I mean, if your body's real constipated with toxins, I mean, it could give you a headache for a few hours as it's trying to work its way out or whatever. But that's 1 out of 1,000 people are saying that they feel that it's giving them a headache. It's not a normal detoxing type of situation, what people think of as detoxing.
Okay. Okay. Off topic, because this is off topic. Some of my favorite questions, because this is about you as a dynamic personality. You don't have to answer it. You can. So here goes. First question. One of my favorite questions. Matthew, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend the day with?
Billy Meyer.
Okay, I don't know who.
It's a gentleman in Switzerland. He's the most feared, smeared, and highly targeted person you could ever imagine. He has one arm. He's wrote 80 books on truth. He is a amazing individual, and yeah, I'd love to spend a day with him, or Dr. Robert Young, who's my
Okay.
mentor right now.
Okay.
That I am on the phone with him constantly, but I would love to get a day with him.
Okay. That's great answer. Well, another off topic. One of I'm an old movie person. I'm stuck. I wrote my first novel. My first novel called Vichy Water. Water. There you go. It's called Vichy
Oh,
Water. I wrote this after I watched the movie Casablanca.
oh wow.
Yeah. I literally watched Casablanca for the 50th time, and then I grabbed my head. You talk about consciousness, and I said, "Oh my God!" My wife yelled up, "Are you all right?" It was like Fred Sanford, Hey Elizabeth, I'm coming. This novel was deposited in my head after Casablanca, and it was so powerful a force that I sat down for 5 years and I wrote it because I was directed to write it. But anyway, Matthew, what are some of your favorite movies?
I have loved Cool Hand Luke. I love Braveheart. Um, what was that movie with Tom Cruise where he was the samurai? Oh, I can't remember that title.
Oh, oh,
Uh,
yeah, and
you know what I'm talking about?
yes, I do, I
So
do.
Star Wars, I absolutely love Star Wars. So I'm big I love a lot of movies actually.
Okay, okay. Now you said Cool
I would
Hand
say Cool
Luke.
Hand Luke and Braveheart though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool Hand Luke was on a couple weeks ago, and I'm a big Paul Newman fan, so I didn't want to see him get beat up and stuff. But one of the greatest lines in the history, and according to me, in the history of motion pictures, came from Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah. Some
And
men you just can't
Strother
reach.
Martin said it. What we got here is a failure
Is
to
failure
communicate.
to communicate.
Yeah,
Some men you just can't reach. So this is the way we're.
yeah,
Which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. I don't like this any more than you did. I love that.
great
Yep.
line. Powerful.
Yep.
It's a powerful movie. I just didn't want to see Paul Newman, and
It's
George
a
Kennedy.
testimony to his will. It's the
Yeah,
testimony to our human spirit.
correct,
Yep.
correct. Um,
Kind of
uh,
important nowadays. We can't be, that's the greatest thing about humans and our ability to adapt and to overcome. And, we're in a very challenging time in a lot of ways in our world right now. So we're going to see if the human will can hold up again.
we are in very challenging times. But so, what is your take on climate change? Um, uh,
Well, I would say this. Um, I don't trust anybody unless they're showing me exactly how they got their charts and their testing and different things. So I never know, right? So it's always hard to tell. It's for me to be able to trust mass media or the alternative media scene per se. But I know this. I would say that our world has way too much of a footprint in terms of forever chemicals and all these things that are overtaking our world. Whether it's meaning our world's hotter or colder or anything else, we know that we have inundated and burdened our world and our ecosystems to the point where our soil is terrible, our water is toxic, our air is so I will not show air quality tests that I have unless someone is already like, I don't even like to I won't bring it up on a show and I haven't yet. And the reason is because I'm not into scaring people until they are taking the solution, until the solution is available for everybody, because it's bad out there. And so I think, do we have too many people on Earth? Not compared to land mass, of course not. You fly in a plane over, and of course we don't have a now do we need to learn how to clean up our planet fast? Yes. Yeah, it's getting pretty bad out there. I would say that. So I don't know if that's climate change, kind of like a world problem. It's kind of ties together though,
it's all tied together. It's all
Yeah.
tied together. I'm
Sometimes they use those buzzwords on us, Calvin, because they're trying to promote their Green Deal or something like that. You know, which could be a lot more about them getting money or controlling the population, maybe not so much about like an environmental problem. So, you know, I'm always kind of just mindful of that for me. I'm sure you
yeah,
probably think the same.
and it's funny. There was a movie with Michael Douglas called Wall Street, and he played Gordon Gekko.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and
I
the
like that.
famous line from that is greed is good. And as I try to understand the climate problem, in the end, it would be greed, fossil
Yeah.
fuel, in the end, it would be greed that takes us in. Another listening to you and absorbing you, we're coming into an age of AI. How do you feel about AI? Is it going to help us or is it going to hurt us or both?
So I think there's two things about the population, about the human population here on Earth that has to do with us improving or evolving. And one side is technology, but the other side is our consciousness. And so I'm not a big advocate. See, I think we've spent a lot of our money making better weapons instead of how to solve world peace. And so when our consciousness is getting worse, that's like trusting a 3-year-old with a gun. And so when it comes to like uh AI stuff, you know, and there's a huge transhumanism agenda going on too. You know, I think that it's once again, and it's never worked out yet, at least no one can provide to me one example ever of when man playing God, trying to mess with the living organism, control it, manipulate it, own it, run it, have even control its thoughts, everything else that can go along with it. When is that? How is that going to work out good for the population? How is that? How are at what point are we being sold efficiency over health and our sovereignty on a lot of levels? You know, so that's a big topic right there. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that just they've been sold to really love Elon Musk. You know, we always like the what was the guy for CERN that was in the wheelchair? No, I can't remember him. What was that? What was his name? Do you remember that gentleman? Uh,
Oh, the guy from England, the scientist, the brilliant scientist.
yeah. So you
Oh,
know, we always like these kind of guys and stuff, but are you know, is this how about this? The Starlink and Neuralink, the satellite systems, okay? It is tied to, we have it completely tied to whenever they release these 5G satellites and things into an area, they usually beam them down on cities, right? Because that's where the population is. And once they turn on this brand new electromagnetic radiation, this new level of electromagnetic radiation, the comorbidity rate, which is how fast the population dies, right? If you have 100,000 people, only so many people should die. But people die more if they're introduced to a new level of poisoning or something goes on. And the comorbidity rate shoots up every time they shoot off satellites into new areas. And so, you know, now we got this whole invisible electromagnetic radiation, which has been proven on every level to be harmful to us. And you know, we're holding our phones where it's beaming at us and we're frying our heads with it. And it's like, oh, we got to have a phone. People, even older folks, can't live without their phone. If they leave their house on an hour trip and they're 20 minutes into the trip and they realize they forgot their phone, most people turn around and come back. That's insane. And it's poisonous. I know. I might not at 20 minutes, but I might at 10. But it's like, but still, we literally think we are actually at this point programmed to be highly uncomfortable if you're not within the area of your phone. Now, are we living better lives? What's happened here? Is the population healthier? Are we operating better? I don't think so. So what have we sacrificed? And these are questions. I think these are healthy questions. These critical thinking, us listening to just taking the science or listening to the next doctor or scientist expert on some level. I think we've lost our ability to critically think. I think we've been programmed to just not think. And everything's doing the thinking for us. The phone does, the this or that does. You can write a book in 2 minutes. You can write a book on anything now. There is so many software programs where you put in your 50 little bullet points and hit it, and it'll write a book for you, 200-page book, and it'll be a pretty good book too. I mean, so we stopped thinking, we stopped striving. Our responsibility just to work and have that healthy processes, we've lost it. We've given it up to technology. I don't think it's been worth it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a scary, scary world.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, looking at, MasterPeace, and I'm a product, of the '60s. I lived through the '60s, and the peace sign. What is the symbolism, of the peace sign and your product MasterPeace, A, and B, where can people find out more? Your website, so that people can experiment and try it and order it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can't just type in our website. And so what we'll do is we'll get you just a tag that you can provide to people. So if they want to learn more, we have our studies, our charts, our graphs on there. We have some really good, simple explanations that is easy for anybody, no matter what they kind of know when it comes to nano anything. And so it's very readable. And so we'll provide it, and all anybody has to do is touch your link and put it in the video description, and they'll kind of do that. But the logo, so I don't know if I always ascribe, I've never channeled or been a medium, so I can never tell anybody what they've experienced, because how would I know what they've experienced, right? And so, now so like epiphanies and stuff, I don't know, it's hard to tell. But I did know in one night that the company, for whatever reason, I'm a meditator. I'm big into meditation. I think that we're all connected on a big level, okay? A lot more than what we understand or what science understands. I believe that we are much more interconnected than we can even fathom at this point. And so I always look into nature. And this is what I did. I like to walk around connected to the earth, barefoot, without my clothes on. And I live in the middle of nowhere. And so I like to walk barefoot and naked on my property in the middle of the night and think. I like to think. I like to think about things that matter. I like to think about the world that my kids have got to grow up in, that I'm not going to be around for, to protect them. And I got to think, how can I impact any of this? And so when we were about close, where the formula was about ready, I knew at that point that we had a winner. Everybody that was trying it was just, everybody was sleeping better, everybody was dreaming better, everybody was experiencing all these things across the board. And so we're like, okay, this is it. And so in the middle of the night, I knew that the company name needed to be Human Consciousness Support, because that's what we do. We support human consciousness through improving their health. And I knew that the peace sign that we've been sold for a long time, which was the upside down peace sign, that's the one we're all used to, is actually the death rune. If you go back in a whole lot of places, it's actually it's like roots of death. It's going down into the ground. And so the correct peace symbol was there, right side up. And then we put a human biofield, which is human consciousness, inside of it. So we turned the peace sign to right side up and put the human biofield. And the old peace sign wasn't doing much, wasn't getting the job done. So we're going to see if this one is. It appears that it's doing great so far.
Wow.
That's how it all happened.
Wow.
But I woke up and I told Matt, my partner, my assistant, my friend, the guy that's really, done so much work to help with everything. And I told him, I said, okay, I'm going to go down. The company's going to be Human Consciousness Support. The product is going to be MasterPeace with a Peace. So it's not Piece. So it's Peace. So it's MasterPeace. We're going to MasterPeace. Because here's the deal. If we can all agree, when it comes to the science of consciousness, when it comes to all of humanity, if we are still at war anywhere in the world for any reason, if we have one killing another because they have a different religion or a different way of thinking, for any excuse, if like America, we have gone across the seas countless times. We've funded people's wars and we've blown up people's children and women. And that's not the way the world's going to get better. We're not protecting freedom. We're killing people. There's a difference. And so if we can all agree across the board, the science of the consciousness level, which is very measurable, there's kinesiology, there's muscle testing, there's reflexology, there's different ways that you can test our global consciousness. Our consciousness, if there's wars going on, it's impossible for it to go up. So if we can at least with war, if war is happening, so if we can all agree just to master peace, if we can just master peace, and start there, then our consciousness starts to go up. And so that's why everything is termed the way it is, the logo and everything else. That's the background with it.
Wow. Hey, this has been great.
Yeah.
My time with you and what I've learned, I find you fascinating and amazing and committed. And it's funny, when we first kind of connected, just kind of reading about you, it was like this instant chemical reaction, because a lot of things that concern me, my family and the future, and
Yeah.
I'm a health conscious person. So this was a perfect synergy of spending time with you, Matthew. And do you have any final comments and any other things you wanted to add before we kind of
I hope that everybody knows how important it is that if you can reclaim your health, reclaim your mind, learn about what real health is, do the work for that. When your mental and emotional and physical health improves, your life improves. And loving yourself enough to put in that work is key. And your world and your circumstances will never love you and feed you any more than what you're willing to love and feed yourself. And so we're in a big time where people are going to have to either claim their health, reclaim their health, or it's getting worse for people out there that are just on standby doing whatever they want to do. It's a proactive life we have to take now to survive, to not just survive, but to be able to learn to thrive. And so I just implore everybody out there to really think about that, the importance of that. And it's a great idea to try MasterPeace. There's no side effects. And if you've tried a million other things, probably for whatever reasons in your life, give MasterPeace a shot. See what happens if you sleep better and you dream better and you wake up feeling better. What happens when you have more energy and you can think better? See what goes on see what changes you all of a sudden make. See what, I feel like working out now. I feel like doing things I wouldn't normally feel. That it's a great thing to support in yourself. Your health is everything.
Yeah. By the way, it is everything, and I've been conscious of the whole health thing since 1969, when I decided, as best I could, that I wanted to live my life. I wanted longevity. So I'm
so impressed you're 79, because you're tall too. Anybody that's tall, it seems like it's harder on people. It's for some reason, I don't know what it is, but So it seems like these little guys, they last a long time. I'm not very, I'm short too, so I can call them little guys. So, you know, it's but for you to be 79, 6'5", and still be cranking, you're doing a lot of good things right.
I'm doing a
So
lot of good things right, and I'm open, and I want to learn. And according to my spiritual healer yesterday, I've been around 1,200 years. I keep jumping. She. So I've been around 1,200 years, and one of the keys to me is this willingness to learn, and turning that to you. I wanted to learn about MasterPeace and about these things, because I understand that, you know, we've got a lot of toxins. So this was very fortuitous that we met, and to be continued, and I'm officially inviting you to come back. We can do in any shape, way, or form, because I think this has all been really positive and interesting and part of the journey. So thank you. I'm going to stop recording. Don't leave. We're going to do a 2-minute wrap. But thank you so much for your graciousness and
thank you, Calvin. Thank
for
you for
being
providing
here.
platform for people to learn.
Yep. And this has been great. Thank you, Matthew. Stay. Don't leave.